Genesis, chapter 46. So Jacob set out with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. During the night God spoke to Jacob in a vision and said, "Jacob, Jacob." Jacob answered, "Here I am." Then God said, "I am God, the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go with you to Egypt, and I will bring your descendants back to this land. Joseph's own hands will close your eyes when you die." So Jacob set out from Beersheba, and the sons of Jacob brought their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had provided for them. They also took all their livestock and all the personal belongings they had acquired in the land of Canaan. So Jacob went to Egypt with his entire family. With him were his sons and his grandsons, his daughters and his granddaughters. All of his family went with him. Now these are the names of the sons of Jacob and family that went to Egypt. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn. The sons of Reuben, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Er, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah, but Er and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Puvah, Job, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Yaleel. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, in addition to their daughter Dinah. All of his sons and daughters numbered 33. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggi, Shuni, Esban, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Beriah, and Sarah their sister. And the sons of Beriah, Heber and Malchiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, the maid whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter when she married Jacob, and she bore to Jacob these 16 persons, 2 sons and 14 grandchildren. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph's sons, born in the land of Egypt, were Manasseh and Ephraim. Their mother was Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, the priest of On. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ahi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob. There were 14 persons in all, 2 sons and 12 grandchildren. The son of Dan, Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, the maid whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter when she married Jacob. She bore these to Jacob. There were 7 persons in all, 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. So the total number of Jacob's direct descendants who went with him to Egypt was 66, not counting the wives of Jacob's sons. Also, Joseph had 2 sons in Egypt. So the total number in the family of Jacob in Egypt was 70, including Jacob, Joseph, and his 2 sons. Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph, to get directions to Goshen, and they came into the land of Goshen. Then Joseph prepared his chariot and went to meet his father Jacob in Goshen. As soon as Joseph saw his father, he embraced his father and wept for a long time. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "Now I can die in peace. I have seen your face, and I know that you are still alive." Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go and tell Pharaoh, and say to him, my brothers and my father's household, who were in the land of Canaan, have come to me. They are shepherds, and they raise livestock. They have brought with them their flocks and herds and everything they own." Then he said, "When Pharaoh calls you in and asks, 'What is your occupation?' you shall say, 'We, your servants, have raised livestock all our lives. Our ancestors did the same thing.' Then the king will allow you to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians." Genesis, chapter 47. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh, "My father and my brothers, with their flocks and their herds and all that they own, have come from the land of Canaan, and they are in the land of Goshen." Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and introduced them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" They said to Pharaoh, "We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors." Moreover, they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to live here for a while, because the famine is severe in Canaan and your servants' flocks have no pasture there. So please allow us to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best of the land." Let them live in the region of Goshen. If any of them are skilled shepherds, put them in charge of my livestock." Then Joseph brought Jacob his father and introduced him to Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to him, "How old are you?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "My life has been spent wandering from place to place. It has been short and filled with trouble, only 130 years. My ancestors lived much longer than I." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph settled his father and brothers and gave them a possession in Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Joseph provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food, according to the number of their dependents. Because the famine was very severe, there was no food anywhere in the region. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan became very poor because of the famine. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your very eyes? For our money is gone." Joseph replied, "Then bring your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock, since the money is gone." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange for their horses, their sheep and goats, their cattle and donkeys. That year he supplied them with food in exchange for all their livestock. The next year the people came to Joseph and said, "Our master, you know we have no money left, and all our animals belong to you. We have nothing left except our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will be slaves to Pharaoh. Give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was severe upon them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he made them all slaves, and relocated them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other end. The only land Joseph didn't buy was the land belonging to the priests. The priests didn't need to sell their land because Pharaoh paid them for their work, so they had money to buy food. Joseph said to the people, "Now I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. So I will give you seed, and you can plant your fields. At harvest time, you must give 1/5 of your crops to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for you, your households, and your little ones." And they said, "You have saved our lives. We have found favor in the eyes of our master, we will be enslaved to Pharaoh." So Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on his land. Only the land of the priests did not become Pharaoh's. Now the Israelites settled in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They gained possessions and acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly in number. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, and the years of his life were 147. The time came when Jacob knew he would soon die, so he called his son Joseph to him. He said, "If you love me, put your hand under my leg and promise that you will show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me in the place where my ancestors are buried at Hebron in the cave of Machpelah." Joseph answered, "I will do as you say." Then Jacob said, "Swear to me." So Joseph swore to him. Then Jacob bowed and worshipped there on the bed. Genesis, chapter 48. Sometime later Joseph learned that his father was very sick. So he took his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and went to his father. When Joseph arrived, Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to see you." So Jacob gathered his strength and sat up on his bed. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "Almighty God appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. He said to me, 'I will make you fruitful, and I will multiply your descendants. I will make you a multitude of nations. And I will give this land of Canaan to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. Your 2 sons, who were born here in Egypt before I came, will be counted as my own sons. Ephraim and Manasseh will be my sons just as Reuben and Simeon are my sons. But if you have other children, they will be your own, and they will inherit land within the territories of their brothers Ephraim and Manasseh. Now as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the journey, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath. Ephrath is now known as Bethlehem." Then Jacob saw Joseph's sons and said, "Who are these boys?" Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons, whom God has given me here in Egypt." Then Jacob said, "Bring them to me so I may bless them." Now Jacob's eyes were so dim from age that he could not see clearly. So Joseph brought his sons close to him, and his father kissed them and embraced them. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "I never thought I would see you alive again. But now God has shown me your children as well." Then Joseph took the boys off Jacob's lap, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Then Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Jacob's left, and Manasseh with his left hand toward Jacob's right, and brought them close to him. But Israel crossed his hands and put his right hand on the head of the younger boy Ephraim. Then he put his left hand on Manasseh, even though Manasseh was the firstborn. Then Jacob blessed Joseph, and said, "The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked faithfully, the God who has been my shepherd throughout my life to this very day, the angel who has delivered me from all harm, may he bless the boys. May they be called by my name and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and may they increase greatly on the earth." When Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on Ephraim's head, it displeased him. So he took hold of his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. Joseph said to his father, "Not that way, father. Manasseh is the firstborn son. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know, Manasseh will be great and will be the father of many people. But his younger brother will become even greater. And his descendants will become great nations." Then Jacob blessed them that day, saying, "By you Israel will pronounce a blessing, saying, May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh." In this way, he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "Look, I am about to die, but God will be with you and will take you back to Canaan, the land of your ancestors. I have given you something that I did not give your brothers, the land of Shechem that I took from the Amorite people with my sword and my bow." Genesis, chapter 49. Then Jacob called all his sons to him and said, "Gather around me, and I will tell you what will happen to each of you in the days to come. Gather together and hear, O sons of Jacob, and listen to Jacob your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the firstfruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. But you are as unruly as a flood, and you will no longer excel or have the preeminence. For you went to bed with my wife. Simeon and Levi are two of a kind, weapons of violence are their swords. I will not join their secret talks. I will not take part in their evil plans. They killed men because they were angry, and they crippled oxen just for fun. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, cursed be their wrath, for it was cruel. I will scatter them among the descendants of Jacob, I will disperse them throughout Israel. Judah, you are the one whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down to you. Judah is like a young lion that has finished eating its prey. Like a lion he stretches out and lies down to rest, and no one is brave enough to wake him. The scepter of royalty shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until the coming of the one to whom it belongs, the one whom all nations will honor. Tying his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he washes his clothing in wine and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the shore of the sea, he shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall be at Sidon. Issachar is like a strong donkey who lies down while carrying his load. When he sees how good is his resting place and how pleasant is his land, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and submit to forced labor. Dan will rule his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be like a snake by the side of the road, a poisonous viper along the path that bites the horse's heels, so that its rider falls backward. Lord, I am waiting for your salvation. Raiders shall raid Gad, but he shall raid at their heels. Asher's food shall be rich, and he shall yield royal delicacies. Naphtali is like a female deer that runs free, and his words are beautiful. Joseph is like a grapevine that produces much fruit, a healthy vine watered by a spring, whose branches grow over the wall. People attacked him and made life hard for him. Men with arrows became his enemies. But his bow remained steady, and his arms were strengthened by the power of the mighty God of Jacob, by the shepherd, the rock of Israel. Your father's God helps you. God Almighty blesses you. He blesses you with rain from above, with water from springs below, with many babies born to your wives and many young ones born to your animals. May my fatherly blessings on you surpass the blessings of my ancestors, reaching to the heights of the eternal hills. May these blessings rest on the head of Joseph, who is a prince among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours the prey, in the evening he divides the plunder. These are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, giving each the blessing appropriate to him. Then Jacob gave them a command and said, I am about to die. Bury me with my fathers in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite. That cave is in the field of Machpelah east of Mamre in the land of Canaan. Abraham bought the field and cave from Ephron the Hittite for a burying place. Abraham and his wife Sarah are buried in that cave. Isaac and his wife Rebekah are buried in that cave. I buried my wife Leah in that cave. The field and the cave in it were bought from the Hittite people. When Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he lay down. He put his feet back on the bed, took his last breath, and died. Genesis, chapter 50. When Jacob died, Joseph fell upon his father's face, and wept over him and kissed him tenderly. Then Joseph ordered his servants the physicians to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Jacob. The embalming process took the usual 40 days. And the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, Listen, I am about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan, and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return. Pharaoh answered, Keep your promise. Go and bury your father. So Joseph went up to Canaan to bury his father. He was accompanied by all of Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households. But they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. Both chariots and horsemen also went to Canaan with Joseph, and it was a very great company. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad, near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service, with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the funeral service at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, What a solemn ceremony of mourning the Egyptians are holding. Then they renamed that place Abel Mizraim. So Jacob's sons did for him as he had commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. After Joseph buried his father, he returned to Egypt, along with his brothers and everyone who had gone with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, What if Joseph carries a grudge against us and pays us back in full for all the wrong which we did to him? So they sent a message to Joseph that said, Your father gave this command before he died. He said to us, You have done wrong and have sinned and done evil to Joseph. Tell Joseph to forgive you, his brothers. So now, Joseph, we beg you to forgive our wrong. We are the servants of the God of your father. When Joseph received the message, he wept. And his brothers went to him and bowed low before him and said, We are your slaves. But Joseph said to them, Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So don't be afraid. I will take care of you and your children. So Joseph comforted his brothers and spoke kind words to them. Joseph continued to live in Egypt with all his father's family. He died when he was 110 years old. Joseph saw the third generation of Ephraim's children, also the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were born and raised on Joseph's knees. When Joseph was near death, he said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will surely take care of you and he will lead you out of this land to the land he promised to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Jacob swear an oath, saying, When God leads you to the promised land, you must carry my bones with you. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptian physicians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt.